will analyze those tenants through the lens of some of their most impactful creations. So without further ado, Dapper Dan pioneered high-end streetwear in the 1980s by remixing classic luxury brand logos into his own innovative designs. His looks defined an era and have been worn by Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, and Jay-Z. His boutique was open from 1982 to 1992 and reopened in 2017 in a major partnership with Gucci. Please welcome to the stage, Dapper Dan! Brooklyn's own April Walker is a icon, entrepreneur, educator, author, and she is one of the first women with an urban fashion brand titled Walker Wear. Walker Wear has been worn by Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Aaliyah have all donned the brand. Please welcome April Walker! All right. Here we go. You guys ready? So, I want to get into our first tenant. First, thank you both for being here.
I don't know if it's happening.
Why would I stop you?
So we backstage, right? So we come out, and the DJ's playing. So as soon as we hit the room where the DJ's at, I hear the DJ play Jay-Z. I don't need Dapper Dan. I got a G on my chest. I said, okay, thank you for the welcome. Let me tell you something. I've been like dealing with that deal for like forever. So let me get short for you.
Go ahead.
So when I first opened up, like Big Daddy King used to come to the shop, but Jay-Z had, wasn't his time yet. He hadn't come off. You know that stuff. So he used to like roll with Big Daddy King. So later on, when Jay-Z started coming off, he started coming to see me, right? And then I was doing outfits for him. So during the golden age, it was like he missed a little bit of the golden age, But Fat Joe caught the golden age, because Fat Joe used to work around the corner in the sandwich shop. But he had his little coins. He used to be able to come, get his little outfits and everything. So Fat Joe comes out with this rap, and he said, he started talking about everything that has to do with the golden age of hip hop. And he says, and so he's going at Jay-Z. So what you know about so-and-so, this and that, and Dapper Dan. So Jay-Z hadn't, in the early stages, hadn't got his Dapper Dan outfit yet, right? So that's what Fat Joe was getting out of it, said that he wasn't part of that, that initial golden age. So now I'm in the hood, and I got all these generations that follow me, right? So the young kids run up and yo, Dap, what's up with that, man? Jay-Z coming at you, man. When he said I ain't got no G on I said, man, I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's a rap game. That's between Jay-Z and Fat Joe. But they thought Jay-Z was coming at me. At the same time that dropped, Jay-Z was on the road with my Gucci jackets.
All right, so I want to talk about that Gucci jacket. So our first tenet is, this is the remix. This is about remixing, upcycling, reimagining. And so on the screen is the famous 1980s coat worn by Olympic runner Diane Dixon that ignited a social media firestorm in 2017 and led to a Gucci partnership. So this remixes the whole logo, the Louis Vuitton logo on the puff sleeves. So I want to ask you, how does this piece reflect your philosophy about making something new out of what already exists?
First of all, I want to thank Diane Dixon. She's from Brooklyn, guys.
Give it up.
And her and a bunch of girls from Brooklyn used to come over to the store. And at this time, she was like, I think she had just won the Olympic gold medal for track. And she said, yo, Dad, I want something really extraordinary. I want something where I said, okay. So we got together and I designed this coat for her. At the time, this is like really a transition piece because I started out only doing furs, minks and furs. When I left the corners, I didn't want to get stuck on the corners, so I decided that I wanted to do something. And the only clientele I could afford what I was doing because I started out in business in luxury. But the only clientele that could afford what I was doing was the drug clientele. So 90% of all my initial customers was drug dealers, right? So I was at this time when this coat came out, I was making a transition from furs to leathers and things like that. But what's so interesting about this piece here is that Jack Jackson is the one who took over the drugs in Harlem, and after John Gotti's brother, Gene Gotti, so it was a big deal. Jack had all the drugs, like, in Harlem at the time. He was that big guy. He came in the store with a Louis Vuitton pouch before anybody was like even hip to European brands, and everybody just went crazy over the Louis Vuitton pouch, right? So I said, oh, okay. Y'all like that pouch, huh? I said, and I'm already making clothes and furs and everything. I said, that ain't nothing but $5 worth of vinyl in. I said, wow, imagine if I can have all my customers walking around looking like luggage. So the next thing I did, I started concentrating on teaching myself textile printing. A year and a half later, I got everybody looking like luggage.
Amazing. Now, there's something about what you did that speaks to the economic and social conditions of growing up in lower income areas. There's something we have to be more resourceful. We have to remix. We have to create our own fashion. Would you say is that part of what also inspired you to remix designs?
Yeah, I mean, we have to attribute more. It's not so much about remixing. You have to attribute it more to about people wanting to elevate their status. So my transition, I was fortunate enough to have older brothers. So I grew up on the crux between rock and roll and jazz. And during that era, it was Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole. They're the ones who determined what style was. So it wasn't so much about like an identity thing as it with European clothes. It was like, I have arrived, I got that money, so I can do these things here. All my customers who came, they were drug dealers, and they didn't care about whether the brand made it. They just wanted something that was different, something that reflected who they are.
I love that. So our next philosophy is Protect Your Neck, referencing the Wu-Tang song. And this is about how hip-hop fashion acted as a uniform and provided a sense of protection against oppressive forces. So on the screen in the middle is Jam Master Jay of Run DMC in Walker Wear. This is the cover of the group's 1992 album, Down with the King. So April, how does this piece reflect your philosophy of creating fashion that challenges negative forces? Because I came across an interview where you said you wanted it to be a uniform sense of protection.
I think when I think about the way I create period, it's my form of protest in the sense of the challenges we face in society, being people of color. And for me, it gives me joy to create, but it also creates space for us. Because a lot of times, especially when I started and around this time, hip-hop wasn't this multi-billion-dollar business that it is in terms of fashion yet, right? So I wanted to create things that spoke to our culture, that were for us, and that were not being, there was a void in the marketplace. There was a total void, but it was more about us self-expressing and saying we're here. That whole black was new for them, because, it wasn't new, right? Run DMC had the leather pants, shell toe Adidas, but when they went into the denim, that was a whole new thing, and that was Jam Master Jay as well as myself. Jam Master Jay had a lot of style, you know what I mean? And I styled them for years and worked with them for years, and he was a visionary, not only with music, but with everything else. And I just remember, in terms of negative forces, I think that when we look at society and when we look at the fashion industry and we look at our cultural currency, I'm so glad for the richness that the cultural currency has created, but they don't, decades later, they still aren't reflected in our ownership, our legacy, and our equity. And so for me, this is my protest, and it shows the world this is how we feel. I talk to artists, I work with them, I collaborate them, and it, besides giving me a great livelihood, it gives me joy, and it creates more space for us. So that's how I work against the negative forces.
Thank you. Give it up. Beautiful story. Our next philosophy is express yourself. And so you both share the idea that hip hop is about creating style that is truly reflective of one's personal identity and culture, and as you said earlier, about elevating oneself through fashion. So Dapper Dan, on the screen are custom Gucci jackets you created for Eric B. and Rakim's 1988. Follow the album cover. And the jackets are different. And so I want to ask you, how did your belief that style should be about individual self-expression lead to the different emblems on their jackets?
Well, I don't know how familiar people are with the main thing I always say. I do not dictate fashion. I translate culture. So when you look at these jackets, Eric B. and Rakim came, every artist that came that I dressed, I asked them about their lyrics, I asked them how they feel, what kind of message they want to send. So Eric B. was a swag man. So when I made his Gucci jacket, I put his name on the back and put the G. So that tells you exactly like where he's at. He's into the swag part of the culture. Rakim was a 5%er. So what I did, I put the 5%er nation sign on the back of his that showed exactly what his mindset was. So in the early stages of the 5%ers, it was always about, they were gods. You know? And so I had that reflected in his outfit. You'll see that, and when other groups came, like say Jungle Brothers was into Afrocentrism. So I made all their outfits up in red, green, and black. Right?
And African flag colors.
Yeah. So, and then we had other groups who was into Boogie Down Production, no, Jungle Brothers, and other groups was into like the roster rapping. So I made all their jackets in the roster color. So I always try to reflect in the outfit exactly the message that they was trying to say in their lyrics or in how their lifestyle was.
I love that. On the screen is Alia in walker wear, and on the left she's wearing baggy, bold denim overalls, and on the right she's in a rain suit with a bib. So April, how do these looks relate to your philosophy that hip-hop fashion should allow for not only the freedom of self-expression of one's personality, but also of the body?
I think they're one and the same, you know, in the sense of self-expression and freedom of in expressing yourself with the body. It's almost like a dance intertwined, because you have to be comfortable in your skin. You have to own that when you wear your outfits, or less is more sometimes, right? Some people want to show more skin, some people want to show less skin. I think particularly with these, with Aaliyah, she had a very petite frame, but it was also a beautiful frame. So she liked to wear oversized clothing, but she was very, to me, I say sexy tomboy. Yeah. And she loved something fitted and then something baggy, right? Because that really complemented her body type. And she was fearless and wasn't afraid to own that and do that, right? And so it was easy to work with artists that are comfortable in their skin, and the fluidity of that shows when you see those outfits.
And also her being a dancer and needing
right,
something
the
loose
fluidity
to move. Yeah, I love that. So for both of you, in recent years, hip-hop style has become a lot more fluid in terms of gender and sexuality and the plethora of diverse styles. We see Doja Cat, we see Lil Nas X, who are really speaking to many intersections of gender and sexuality. So where do you see the future of creative self-expression in hip-hop style going next? And we'll start with you, Dapper.
Well, I'll follow the music. To me, the influences, it's not by accident that all the major brands go out and get the musicians, because people follow musicians. People in the most remotest part of the world are more inclined to follow what they see the musicians with than they would think about their own culture within their own sphere. So I always follow whatever the culture takes it. So if a rapper is very popular, I get into his lyrics, I get into what he's saying, and then when they come to me, I just dress them accordingly. But today, like, it's straight. The spectrum is very wide, and I just follow the whole spectrum. I do not tell people what to wear. I listen to them. I see what their followers are like. I have this thing, and I tell the rappers, I say, I understand you want a certain look for your people. I said, but you got to remember, everything in your mind might not look good on your behind. I don't want to be involved in you misrepresenting yourself. I said, if I feel you wearing something that's going to reflect who you are, I'll go with that. But other than that, I won't do it.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Ava? Where do you see the future of hip-hop fashion going next in terms of self-expression?
I think it's going to be very interesting. I think first, before I answer that, I just really have to tell this Brooklyn audience, I love y'all.
I love you too.
Everything, I feel like I'm sitting in my living room right now, and you guys look beautiful tonight. I just wanted to tell you that. To answer the question, I believe technology is going to really be that added sauce for us besides the music. Music and fashion have always been our two biggest influences, but technology, and let's talk about AI, right? Literally, all of those things incorporated, the metaverse, all the things we're seeing. You look like, when I looked at, how many of you remember Blade Runners? How many of them? That's where we're at already. Like, and I think that's a Blade Runner outfit right there, right? So, who knows where we're gonna be soon? Like, literally, you're gonna be wearing Alexa. Like, hey, you'll tell your clothing, open the door for me. Like, I can see that happening. We have fabric that is made in a bottle, and you can pour it, and it turns into liquid. Into fabric from liquid. That's now. So imagine what it's going to be like 5-10 years once they figure out this AI with fabric and all the things. I think it's going to be really interesting, and watch out.
Because it also brings to the conversation a whole bunch of questions about ethics and how we're gonna, have economic justice with that. But that's another panel. Right now, we have time for some questions from the audience. So please, I gotta be tight on time. So please let it be a question, not a monologue. Yes, you ma'am. Do you need the mic?
No, I actually.
You got that Brooklyn voice.
Hi, Portia Snowden. How are you? Thank you for joining us today. Okay, really quickly. What I noticed is that a lot of musicians these days, there's a lot of pages dedicated to identifying the pieces that they're wearing. Like even coming in today, I saw a page that identified every single piece that a performance artist had on. How do you guys decide between picking items that are off the runway or when you're deciding to custom make something just for that artist? Where's the intersection between what is trending and what is just specifically only ever going to be seen on that artist?
What you have just stated has a lot to do with the life and death of fashion. Branding is very dangerous. Couture will free you up. So it's not by accident that you see major brands, they have those real extravagant shows, You know, that's showing what they can do, but that's not being released. So you got both of those waves coming at you. So that generates excitement. Once you start, a brand stops generating excitement, and they get identified with a certain style, the death knell sounds. You have to be. That's why I make sure, like, I have this partnership that means collaboration with Gap, and collaboration with Puma, but I still do the Dapper Dan because I don't want to get locked into an identity. You know, I always want to be able to define, because like I said earlier, I want to define the culture. And once you get a brand, you have to be very careful with it. You're making a statement, and a lot of the brands like get in trouble behind that, you know, financially.
You want to answer April or no?
I think I think that for me, how I started is how I still am, right? In terms of, I have a custom division, and those pieces that are custom, that are one of a kind, those drive the culture, right? Those are the pieces that everybody might ask for, but then I have a brand, and my brand reflects my personality, the heartbeat of my brand DNA. While it remains fluid and it changes, because you have to stay innovative, you have to stay creative, and you have to stay with the times, right? That's very important, but it also is important to be consistent, right? To tell your story and not be, right? Blow with the wind. Okay, who is she? Who is she? You know, that's important too, because your tribe is your tribe, so you don't want to lose them. But your tribe will go to get that piece that they saw in so-and-so's video, but they can't get it, so they're gonna buy the next thing. And usually the reason they can't get it is because they can't afford it. Because that one piece that we had to make for that one artist takes a lot of time, and it costs a lot of money for us to do, and those artists can pay for it, but it's not realistic in the stores. But that always drives the business as well, aspiration.
Let me just do it before I ask the next question. If someone's in the house, can you make sure the models come down? Because we got a little one-way show for you guys, okay? So, can you guys get my models? Thank you. All right, cool. Next, I'm gonna go play over here. Can you shout? Oh, you need the mic? All right, go ahead.
Did NWA's, the way they dress, had any influence on you? And also, get paid for AI, because AI steals things from everything, and you're the rich.
All right. Did NWA influence y'all's creativity?
Talk about the 1990s.
What was that question?
Did NWA influence your designs?
I gotta be honest with you. I'm from Howard, so.
Is Harlem in the house?
There's a different kind of creative spirit that comes out of Howard. So when hip hop first started, it's the messaging, you know, and then I don't like this whole thing about niggas with attitudes. I understand it, but and I understand that it's the nature of the culture, but there's a light side of culture and there's a dark side of culture. I never did anything that was associated with the dark side of culture. I never made any game paraphernalia. I mean, any guys came to me and said, "Man, I want to fly my colors." I said, "You can't fly it here." I'm from a different type of background, but I think that they were necessary because they were voicing what was going on then, and that was a big shift in the culture. So I think it was necessary, but it wasn't the direction I could go.
And for me, so fun fact, I was born in LA. And I came to
You should have said that.
so before you read about it. But no, I was born and my father was in the music business, so we landed here as a baby. But my cousin is Diane Reeves, and just to get to the answer of this, she was in LA and she was during the Grammys or something. I was very young and I was just starting with Walkway. I was about 20, and she sent me to come out to go to the Grammys. Now at this time, I was all things hip hop, Public Enemy out, right, in Brooklyn. And I think I saw the first video with Eazy-E jumping through the thing, and that was me all day. I was so anti-establishment, rebellious. I'm like, there's more people that think about, you know, the oppression, all the things that are telling our stories, like CNN around. I want to see what that hood is like, so I went out to LA, and it touched me because I'm Mexican. I saw that whole culture of gang life, of this, you know, you start questioning what your life would have been like if you grew up in LA, right? And then I have a natural love for people that are telling our stories, whether it's my story or not, especially those stories that don't give voice. And in the beginning, I understood exactly where NWA was coming from, because the whole police thing, from Michael Stewart to Eleanor Bumpers to yada yada, we were experiencing that here. So when they were like against the police, I understood that, right? So when I went out there and felt the culture of the West Coast, for me, my influence in fashion is fashion, fit, and function. I wanted to create timeless pieces that were married together through workwear and fashion, and that was East and West Coast to me. So to answer your question, I guess indirectly, but because NWA wasn't the trendsetters, that's what LA was doing already. So I guess it was a perfect storm for Brooklyn meets LA.
Well, I'd like to comment on that further. We have to look at the urbanization of culture for black and brown people, and then we have to look at the globalization of culture. If we're going to export culture, and our culture is like the biggest thing coming out of America, if we're going to export culture, we have to design it in a way that it can penetrate a global market. You know, and we have a problem with that. So what is happening here is all these different cultures is picking up a trend of hip hop, but they are expressing it in a way that's positive to their culture. We cannot export our culture, if it's a dark side of our culture, if it's a negative side of our culture, to these foreign entities. The reason being is because them governments in them different places is going to stop it. They're going to shut it down. And when they shut it down, you have those other people, you know, those young people there who are having powerful, positive messaging. So if we're going to use negativity in our product, we can't sell our product over.
I really appreciate this conversation because I think hip hop needs to have a reckoning, and I think there's been a lot that we've gotten away with, and we understand where it comes from and why, but as hip hop evolves 50 years, we're grown now. Is it time to change the message in the mainstream? That, you know, so yeah, give it up. Are all my models here? Are all the models here?
No, not all, you can stretch.
All right, we can stretch. Can I start with our first two? Can I start with our first two? All right, we can start with our first two. You guys ready for a fashion show? I'm gonna let our designers describe these looks. But up first is Jason in Walker Flight Suit. Come on up, Jason. Can you describe what's going on here?
This is a perfect example of workwear meets fashion and fluidity. It's comfortable. I like things that have a comfortable fit. It has it's a utilitarian vibe. It has a lot of pockets that actually have function, zippers. And then you can see, like, it can be adjusted. And it's part of my legacy capsule. So I have a legacy capsule that is very simplistic, less is more, because a lot of our designs aren't less is more. But I wanted to create something for the generation that came up in hip hop, that's grown, that might not want logos everywhere, etc. So we had something for them too, and it really is telling our story of legacy. So it kind of it encapsulates everything.
Isn't it hot? Legacy. Let's go. Our next look. This This is Holton and Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan's gonna describe what's going on here.
This is it. You see the cat on the back? That leopard on the back. You see how aggressive it is? That comes from the leopard society in Africa that took roots in Cuba. And so the two interlocking D's has, DHD. So with this design here, this is like the Dapper Dan collection that's coming along, but I wanted to do it with a different feel to it, so I did it in sequence and with printed sequence, which you don't see a lot.
Yes.
But the whole idea is, I first introduced this for an outfit that I did for LL Cool J. But the one I did for LL Cool J, I didn't tell anybody what it was about. But if you go back and see last year, the outfit I did for LL Cool J, you'll see the Sankofa sign.
Yes.
So it's not coincidence that I keep going back and forth to Africa. I'm into symbolism. The reason I arrived at fashion is because I found the power of symbolism. And when I looked at that bag, I said, if they're attracted to European symbols, I said, once I get to the place that I can be successful, now I can bring over people and styles to us that are symbolic of our culture. And so this is the beginning of that.
Okay. I want to pay homage, as I always do, to Dapper Dan, because you influenced me greatly. But we've had these conversations. I'm going to say right now to the audience, I've always said if Dapper Dan could do what he's done for the 2 G's, guess what he can do with these 2 D's? How many of you will go out there and represent these 2 D's? This is beautiful.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I just want to say, I appreciate that, but I have an obligation to make stuff fly. If it ain't fly, don't buy, because I'm going to keep it moving.
Now, our next model is Green, representing hip-hop Afrocentric style. She's wearing the legend and Brooklyn's own Moshood. This take on hip-hop logo media is infused with the celebration of the motherland. The logo on the back, let's see that logo, is defined as African spirit and it references African mass. This is Black pride meets hip-hop style. Give it up for Moshood! Our next model is also the artist and founder behind the label. This is Israel and his brand, Hubane. This wearable art is created using venom materials, speaking of technology and fashion. The concept is built upon a futuristic industrial approach to design. Consider it the future of hip-hop fashion. Think Outkast, think Lil Nas X, think Doja Cat. Give it up! And this venom material, I love it. Our final look. This is Tiffany Renee wearing triple t-shirts by Beau McCall. These are 3 shirts combined into one. They can be worn 6 different ways, as a poncho, a hoodie, a shawl, a skirt, short sleeve, and as drapes. These shirts pay tribute to Cameron, Dipset, and the queen from Queens, Nicki Minaj. All right, look at how, I just love this. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I want to thank our models, our designers. Wait, get the rest of the designers up here. Beau, Moshood's team, come up here on the stage, please, if you're in the audience. And the Brooklyn Public Library team, the team of Moshood and April Walker, Danielle, thank you so much. Dapper Dan Bar is here, but thank you. It takes a team and a village. So thank you guys so much. And we'll take some photos. Enjoy! What's up? What's up? Brooklyn in the house? Make some noise! Alright, so, style is an important element in hip-hop, and right now we have a pop-up fashion show for you celebrating some iconic and legendary designers and emerging ones. So you guys ready for some hip hop style? All right. Up first is our model, Hubane. It's not Gap, it's Dap. This is a baby blue hoodie from Dapper Dan's Gap collaboration. And on the bottom are track pants. And he's wearing the classic Puma sneaker from Dan's Puma collection. This is hip hop maximalism meets sportswear. Give it up. Our model, Jason, is wearing Brooklyn's own Walker Wear by April Walker. This is a Walker Wear vintage-inspired short set. Walker Wear is known for seamlessly merging style and comfort. And this short set is giving you both. Give it up. Our next model, Green, is representing hip-hop Afrocentric style. She's wearing the legend and Brooklyn's own Moshood. His take on hip-hop logo mania is infused with the celebration of the motherland. Give it up. Are you guys ready for the future of hip-hop fashion? Now, are you ready? Our next model is also the designer. Give it up for Hubane. This handmade wearable art is created using venom material. Think Doja Cat, think Lil Nas X, think Outkast. This is the future of hip-hop fashion. Finally, our next model is Tiffany Renee in triple t-shirts by Beau McCall. These shirts are 3 shirts into one that you can wear 6 different ways. From poncho to shawl to hoodie to skirt. And she's celebrating Brooklyn's own ODB and Wu-Tang Clan. All right, y'all, so we are about to walk through the crowd, stop us, take a photo, and then at 10 o'clock, we're gonna go into the auditorium for our talk with Dapper Dan and April Walker. They are here, so 10 o'clock, go to the auditorium, all right? Thank you so much.
Let's give a nice round of applause to Souleo and his models.
Hopton, hang out. Up next, we have Jason wearing Brooklyn's own Walker Wear by April Walker. He's proving that men can be feminists too, with text on the front that says the future been female, and on the back, turn around, is a tribute to groundbreaking Brooklyn-born politician Shirley Chisholm. Give it up! Give it up! And he's wearing custom rose legacy print shorts. Up next is our model, Bree, representing Afro-centric hip-hop style. She's wearing the legend in Brooklyn's own Moshood. This is his take on hip-hop logo mania, infused with the celebration of the motherland. The logo is defined as African spirit, and it references African mass. This is Black Pride meets hip-hop style. Up next, Israel. He is the founder and artist of Hubane. Y'all, this is the future of hip-hop fashion. Think Outkast, think Lil Nas X, think Doja Cat. This is an industrial approach to design with his own venom material. And finally, triple t-shirts by Beau McCall. The model is Tiffany Renee. Come on out, girl. So these are not 1, not 2, but 3 t-shirts worn multiple different ways. You can wear it as a hoodie, as a poncho, and she's also wearing it as a skirt. This is a tribute to Wu-Tang and Brooklyn's own ODB. Give it up for our models. You will see us walking around the library. Feel free to pose, ask a question, and enjoy the show. Come on, divas.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a warm welcome from the voice of New York, Angie Martinez, and the Honorable Souleo.